So first I try to understand, like, who are you and how do you operate? And then once I get an insight into that, we can look at, like, now how do you talk about the business in a way that is accurate to the business, but also makes me go, oh, her, I want to work with her.
You're listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with your host, Michael Palmer. Listen each week as inspiring guests share their secrets of success to help you increase your confidence, work smarter, and build a business you love. This episode of The Successful Bookkeeper is brought to you by PureBookkeeping.com, the proven system to grow your bookkeeping business.
Welcome back to the Successful Bookkeeper podcast. I'm your host, Michael Palmer, and today kicks off part one of a special two-part series with Bondi, a leadership communications coach, keynote speaker, and author of Ask Like an Auctioneer. During this episode, you'll learn how discovering your true voice leads to greater impact, why embracing rejection can maximize your value, and what bookkeepers can do to build stronger trust, attract better clients, and command higher fees through strategic communication. Let's get to that conversation right now. Bondi, welcome to the show.
Hi, nice to see you.
It's great to have you. Yes, it's great to have you. And I was reading the introduction and I was like, communications coach. I was like, oh, geez, am I communicating right? Better. I always do that now. I start choking on my words. I love these episodes where we have guests like yourself who have done really interesting things, and especially around communication, the whole concept of having your voice with confidence, and this title of your book, Ask Like an Auctioneer. I read a little bit about that, and I thought, yeah, this is great. So helpful for people to have a voice in the world that actually makes things happen. And so thank you for being on the show. And maybe we'll start off with getting to know a little bit about you for our listener. It's like, how did you end up doing what you're doing today?
Oh, it is a long story. And before I get into it, I'll just say thank you to all of the bookkeepers out there. You keep our lives straight. I am not a bookkeeper, and I'm so happy to have a great bookkeeper in my life. So whatever magic you're doing, keep going.
Beautiful.
That's number one.
We love guests like you, our listener. Anyone that gives creds right out of the gate is lovely.
It's like, it's sort of the best. It's these behind the scenes, like, I recognize that y'all listening are maybe these sort of like invisible heroes, but you really do make small businesses like mine work by helping me stay, in my zone of excellence while you make sure that my business is safe. So yes, I'm here for it. So I have been doing leadership communications work for over 2 decades, which is wild for me to say. Early days in my career in college, I taught fitness, group fitness, and you'd think that leadership communications and group fitness would not be related, but they certainly are. When I got into building my career, I was really had a desire to be in the professional world, but have it be very familiar to my experience in the world of fitness, which is about real embodiment. It's about like being in your body and finding your sort of physical power. And in the world of business communication and leadership communication, it's really not that different. And so when I was able to make that bridge and find a place for the kind of work I was doing with people's bodies to help them do in their businesses, it was a major celebration for me. And that was in 2000. I saw this kind of work for the very first time. I sat in the back of a workshop and saw somebody do the work I do today. And it was so compelling to me that I made my first and most important ask I made in my career, which is, will you bring me on as your apprentice? I want to learn how to do this. And that's kind of how it happened. And 20 years later, I'm really proud to say that my core drivers around looking for adventure and deeply connected experiences have led me to helping business people, executives, and founders, mostly VC-backed, secure hundreds of millions of dollars in decisions and resources. I had the privilege of helping Rio de Janeiro win the right to host the 2016 Olympics. I've worked with other Olympic bidding cities and in the Olympic movement, along with working with some of the most significant brands in technology to help their leaders speak powerfully and move the business forward.
Wow, that's remarkable. Remarkable career that you've had, and you've worked with some remarkable organizations to do this. At the core of what you're helping them do, like if we use Rio de Janeiro, helping them attract and secure the games, what were some of the things that you were doing that led to that actually happening?
To them securing the vote?
Yeah.
Well, look, I was one person working on an intricate and extravagant and very well coordinated campaign with an incredible set of strategic advisors, people putting together the games plans, the creative campaigns that help bring the vision of the games to life for the voting bodies and all of their constituents. I was integral in that project, but not singular in it. It's a well
massive
orchestrated,
wheel, lots of cogs, lots of bits and bobs. But your
100%.
gear, all the gears in a machine all have their purpose,
their
and
role, exactly.
their role, and that's a big machine to put that together.
Absolutely. My role was to get the bidding team, and this is true for that project as well as I worked on Turkey's bid for 2020, which we lost to Japan. My role is to help the individual leaders who are standing in front of the audiences that matter to give what you would imagine feels like a campaign speech describing the vision of the games should they come to that country, to deliver their message in a way that is compelling and excellent, and to bring to life the scripts that the strategists are writing. And very often I'm a bridge between those two worlds because I'm helping the script writers and doing some script writing myself to help craft a message that is in the voice of the leader that needs to say it. But I'm also getting to know the leader very uniquely so that I can understand their voice and help make sure that connection between the business story and their unique voice happens. But really what I'm doing, Michael, and maybe even your audience is doing in every single critical communication they have with whether it's the very first client they're landing, in a brand new private practice, or going for their first big fish, that they want to land that's going to change their business forever, is building trust. I'm in the business of building trust with your audiences.
Wow. It's, remarkable work. And I'm sure others often take for granted the words that tumble out of my mouth. And your whole career is around being thoughtful of that and bringing something to that and the impact that it can have. I mean, if you've got the time, you say one thing, and you've got the same amount of time, you say another. The impact that it can have or the results that it can create are remarkably different. And so in a small business, speaking to clients, speaking to new clients, leads, prospective clients, partners, prospective partners, all of this can really turn the dial in the business dramatically in terms of the business results, the growth, attracting
Absolutely.
people, building trust, all these things, really applicable, whether it's trying to attract at games, billions of dollars of, revenue into a country, or building a, $1 million business or a $500,000 business. We're talking about the same stuff here, and everyone has access to pieces and parts. Obviously, if they worked with you privately, it would be, really powerful, but you have a lot of content out there. You've written a book. This is really exciting for our listener to start to unpack this a bit. So when you're working with these people, you're helping them, they're individuals, everyone's different, the way they speak, what they're interested in, how they, I've seen that myself. I've had people say, wow, that's a boring speaker, but that speaker in certain audiences produces incredible conversions in what they talk about. So it's, it's not like you can just put, apples to apples, orange. It's all a little bit different. So how do you start to build this out for somebody?
So I don't even start with words, because I wouldn't even know what words to craft with you until I understand who you are. So the core philosophy that underpins all of my leadership communications work and bridges to the content in my wild book, Ask Like an Auctioneer, How to Ask for More and Get It, is that you are your most powerful when you speak from who you truly are. So when I work, and while I do work with individuals, I'm very aware that a leader or a founder I'm working with needs to have name and claim their unique voice and then lend it to the business. Because, I'm working very often with product marketers who are writing the talk track for a particular product launch that's going out to some of the largest product conferences, technology conferences you think of on the planet. But at the same time, it can't just be a leader reciting that script in a way that's tied to the messaging of the organization in a way that is devoid of their own voice. So before we even worry about what do you need to say about the business, which might, for folks listening right now, might be like the way you describe your practice. I work with equestrian businesses that run 3 barns or more. I don't know. I'm totally making this up, to help.
Well, no, there was, we just had a guest on not that long ago. It was exactly, that was their.
Wow. I pulled that one right out of my ear.
But it's pretty rare and random, but that's it.
Yeah. So the way you describe your business, I get it. It's not a huge talk track that, 3 product managers and brand managers are crafting for you, but there is a point where you have to talk about the product and the business that you're running.
Yeah.
The first thing I want to do is put that down and go tell me about who you are. What kind of role do you play in the world? Is your role in the room to bring patience into the conversation? Is your role in the room to be the one who says the thing everyone's thinking but too afraid to say? Are you someone who challenges status quo? Are you someone who, leads with logic? Are you someone who values intuition and that informs how you collaborate with a client, work with a client, take a look at, where the overlooked potential is in their business? I don't know. So first I try to understand who are you and how do you operate? And then once I get an insight into that, we can look at now, how do you talk about the business in a way that is accurate to the business, but also makes me go, oh, her. I want to work with her.
Wow.
So that's where we always start. Who are you and what matters to you? What are your operating principles? And I actually have a 4-part framework that I will walk clients through, and we can talk about that if you'd like, to help get to that. So when folks say, I want to work with Dia because I need to find my voice. Finding your voice isn't finding something that's lost, or you don't know where it is. It's very much about digging into your own journey in your profession and naming and claiming and harvesting core stories from your already lived life that you then add to sort of your platform for your voice. And so in that way, finding it isn't about discovering something new. It's about claiming something you're already doing, but all of a sudden seeing that oh, that's so me.
Yeah, for sure. I love the idea of a formula that you walk people through, or a construct that helps people unpack that, because I think that's super valuable to know that. Now, let's maybe pause for a second before we go with that, because you have your book, right? The Ask Like an Auctioneer, and I imagine a lot of what we'll talk about is related to the book. Share with the audience how that book came about, and it's got a fantastic title.
Isn't it funny?
It's a funny title, but it's also very descriptive, you can imagine, Ask Like an Auctioneer. But tell us about it.
Yeah, so I'm sure folks who are listening have done this in some time in their careers where they've taken a break, and there's a special word for that. We call it a sabbatical. I like it because it sounds fancy. And that's exactly what I did a handful of years ago. I put myself on a 1-year sabbatical, and I did a few things. I did a lot of push-ups, and I did The Artist's Way from cover to cover. Folks don't know about what that is. It's a beautiful book to help you reconnect with your own creative self. Not because I'm an artist, but because I just wanted to get back into relationship with my own creative self. And I made good that year on a threat I had made at a dinner table years before, which is to say, I'd learn how to be an auctioneer. And that thread of that dinner table was an outcome of something I'd done a few years before that, which was my kids were in a community-based preschool. We had an annual fundraiser. I am somebody who's very comfortable in front of a room. I like a microphone. We're on one right now, which is one of my favorite places to be. And all the parents in the fundraising committee said, I'm not getting up there to run our live auction. Dia, you do it. And I had no idea what I was doing, but I had so much fun. I thought, okay, at that dinner table, we were all doing bucket list stuff. And I said, I'd become an auctioneer. So that year when I was on sabbatical, my husband said, hey, remember that thing you said you'd do? So I went to auctioneering school. And when I got back to the Bay Area where I live in Northern California, I thought to myself, what am I going to do with this? It's not a career, but what am I doing? And I decided to start doing fundraising auctioneering for women-led nonprofits and nonprofits benefiting women and girls as something I like to call an impact hobby, which is like a hobby you have, but it's not just for you. Like it has an outcome. It matters to me that women and girls in my community are given economic opportunities that they wouldn't otherwise come across, that we support, single moms going through breast cancer, that we're enabling and accelerating the lives of women and girls in my community. So I picked up this impact hobby, and 30 auctions into it, I realized, oh my gosh, everything I'm learning is so useful for how we think about designing a strategic ask and then making it such that it yields its maximum potential. And I launched it as an idea, and then 3 years later, now it's a book.
Wow. That's super cool. Super cool. And I'm really curious now. I want to read the book because I can only imagine how this came about, because we often think of an auctioneer, what are they doing? It's just like they're presenting something to be sold. But if it was that easy, right, why would they even need an auctioneer? So there's something magical there that's happening that maybe some people haven't thought about. I clearly haven't. Is like, what is that? What's the mechanism that's going on there that an auctioneer is moving?
So I'm going to be really honest, like the auctioneering part, the numbers part is really tactical. There's nothing mystical about it. There's nothing magical we do. We stand in front of a room and we ask for numbers and people say yes or they say no.
Okay.
But what I was noticing, so when I say ask like an auctioneer, I don't mean speak fast. I don't mean at all that you're learning, a chant, or that you're engaging your world in a multiple bidding situation. It is rare that, folks listening right now are going to have 6 customers,
It'd be great
6
if
new
they did.
clients.
Who wants to work with me? You do. You all do great. Come on
exactly.
in.
$100 an hour looking for a $200 an hour client. Yeah.
That would be great.
That's not happening.
No.
But so what it means to ask like an auctioneer is this. When clients come to me, they're fundraising, they're looking for resources, they're building out teams, they're looking for headcount, they're looking to land a big customer, they're making an ask for a level of engagement from the external or internal team, they're securing a partnership. There's always some sort of ask. Mm-hmm. At the end of the stories that they tell, product launch or whatever it might be, they're going to their board, I don't know what it is. They're making an ask, and when I ask them, great, I know what it is. It's headcount, it's budget, it's investment, it's engagement, it's a partnership, whatever it is. I have to ask, well, how big is it? How much is it? How many heads are you looking for? How big of a budget? How much engagement, et cetera? And what I historically have been met with is another question, which is, well, what do you think I can get? And I was, for years, I was like, great idea. What do you think you can get? And then we kind of game it out, and then they'd go ask that, and they'd get what they thought they could get. And we thought we were awesome. And asking like an auctioneer, that is not what we do. That's the equivalent of me opening the bid at $100, having somebody say yes, and me saying sold right there. Because I'm aiming for the first yes I can get. What we do as auctioneers is we open the bid and we keep asking for more until somebody in the room says no. It usually gets down to 2 top bidders, right? And I'll say, I'm looking for a $5,000 bid for this piece of art. Somebody says yes. And I say, great, I'm looking for a $6,000 bid. That person says yes. I go back to the first person and say, are you in at $7,000? $7,000, it's the same 2 bidders. Somebody says, no, not in at $7,000. Now I sell it for $6,000. We always sell it for a little less than the maximum ask we made. And in that way, the word no is magic because it lets me know 2 things. Lets me know I can sell it. and it lets me know I've maximized the potential of that ask. No for us is actually a good thing. So when I started auctioneering, I realized, oh my gosh, I have been helping my clients design asks to guarantee a yes, and we've probably left a lot of money on the table because we never touched the no. We never had any idea what we could have gotten. And so asking like an auctioneer means intentionally making an ask that you think threatens a no, and then trusting that you've built enough elasticity into the relationship that if the client, customer, partner, whomever it might be, says no, you then have a conversation that lets you find a number, a level of engagement, whatever the amount is, below the no, but probably it will end up being above what you would have gotten if you had designed to guarantee a yes. Do you hear that?
I totally do. Yeah.
So now, why don't we do that? Why don't we ask for what we think might get rejected? It's because all of those increments that live between, and look, there are exceptions. I get it. People in here might be listening like, no, I don't have any problem with rejection. Let me just tell you, your
Most
magical
people do.
unicorn.
Yeah, no, for sure. I don't think anybody's going to fight you on the rejection fear here.
100%.
Yeah.
So we don't ask for more than what we think we can get very often because, one, it's an existential threat to us. It feels really terrible. And because everything, all those increments between a guaranteed yes and a no live in a place I like to call the zone of freaking out, or the ZOFO. I have a shorthand for it. I call it the ZOFO.
ZOFO. Nice.
The ZOFO tells you nasty things like you're going to break it, you're going to lose this chance. I mean, people listening right now, look back at your practice. There've been customers like raising your rates with your customer or going for that big dog customer for the first time with a number that you have a hard time saying out loud. Like those were real ZOFO moments for you. I have them right now. So when I think about what does it mean to ask like an auctioneer, it's those two things. You go for a no. And chances are everything above a guaranteed yes for you is in the zone of freaking out. And then I share 9 ideas from my experience as an auctioneer that you can use as strategies to help you go ahead and make that ask, even if it's in the ZOFO.
Wow. Sounds like a really important book for our listener because, we talk a lot about pricing. We talk a lot about, you're out there securing bids basically for your business. And I'd imagine people are leaving a lot of money on the table. People are leaving a lot of money on the table for that, especially in the way that pricing has shifted to fixed pricing, bundled pricing, packages, value pricing. You're presenting something. And so this structure that you have and the thought process that would go around it with Ask Like an Auctioneer would really help because that's exactly what people want to do is go more in the ZOFO and get to know more quickly and always have a way to step down. And, it's like, well, this is a no for you, but a yes is right here. And it's probably 10x bigger than what you would have gone in with.
And look, if it's 1x or 2x bigger than you would have gone into, I'm still happy for you.
It's an X.
Some people say, so many people say like, oh, I asked like an auctioneer and I failed because I got a yes right away. And I'm like, yes, but is it more than you would have asked for if you had designed for a yes? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, well, great, it's a win. That's the whole point, is for you to go like, I would have gone to ask for a 10, but I thought they were going to say no to 15. So I asked for 15 and then they said yes to 15. Oh no, I realized I probably should have asked for 20, but the point is you got 15 instead of 10.
That's right.
Yay for you.
That's right.
Now, I want to also recognize that, this is not just about money. Okay. So folks who are listening right now, imagine not just like, oh, I raised my rates, but imagine there's a target customer that has a profile that you really want to move your business toward. Even if now is not the time to make a bigger money ask, you might be making an ask to land a particular client that is a new profile for you that feels ZOFO-ish right there, Like I'm in fact, tomorrow I'm going to have a conversation with somebody that I'm not going to change my rates, but landing that client it feels Zofo-ish in the best way for me, because I know that if I work with this client, it's going to open a whole bunch of other doors. Like, it's a new profile of client for me. It feels a little wobbly, and I get that Zofo feeling in my stomach, that like, ooh, but I know that I'm asking for more, because it's a stretch into a new territory that if it works and we work together, it will open an entire new territory of client profile for me. Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
So
Yeah.
I want folks to think that asking for more isn't just about money. It can be about influence. It could be about decision-making power, or what I call authority. It can be about balance. It can be like making the asks to have more of your client portfolio reflect the actual kind of client you want to work for or with, instead of having 7% of your portfolio being your ideal client and the rest of it being those pain in the butt clients that you want to let go of.
Mm-hmm.
So bringing more into balance the picture you have for your business and what it actually is doing.
Super cool. Super exciting. The better you are at asking. If we're thinking about our listener, it's even just get out there and ask. There's so many things you could be asking for: referrals, testimonials, pricing, so many different things.
Excellent point.
Yeah.
Excellent point.
Well, that was a great chat with Dia Bondi. In part 2, she'll walk us through her 4-part platform map framework to help you find and own your leadership voice. You'll also discover how to craft more meaningful client conversations and how even your unique quirks can amplify your professional value. And with that, we wrap another episode of the Successful Bookkeeper podcast. To learn more about today's wonderful guest and to get access to all sorts of valuable free business building resources, you can go to thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Until next time, goodbye.
You've been listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with Michael Palmer. For more information and to download the resources mentioned in this episode, please visit us at thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Thank you for listening.